Welcome to the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast. This podcast is dedicated to EAS employees of the U.S. Postal Service and members of the National Association of Postal Supervisors. So, pour yourself a cup of coffee and join us for today's episode. And now, here's your host, Robert Wakefield.
Good morning, Branch 32, and good morning to all of our EAS friends across the country. Welcome to the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast presented by the Nashville Post Office Credit Union. I'm your host, Robert Wakefield. I'm the president of Branch 32. Thank you. Thank you so much, studio audience. Please be seated. Oh, it's great to have you all here. So let's go ahead and pour that first cup. This March 29th, join us in celebrating a century of trust and a century of service. The Nashville Post Office Credit Union is hosting its 100th annual meeting celebration at the luxurious Sonesta Hotel from 4:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. Mark your calendars for a night of history, festivities, and fun. For more details and updates, like and follow our Facebook page and be a part of this monumental milestone. The Nashville Post Office Credit Union, people helping people since 1925. So for our first cup today, we're going to be diving into a big topic that's been buzzing in the postal world. That's right. Today we're going to talk about Postmaster General Louis Dejoy's partnership with the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. I like to call it doggy, but they're calling it DOGE, okay? And what does that mean for the Postal Service? And what could it mean for EAS employees, the people that are working to keep this great organization running? Well, that's what we're going to talk about in today's podcast. So first, let's talk about where we are as an organization. Now, it is no secret that we as EAS employees, we all have felt the weight of the Postal Service's financial struggles. No question about that. Mail volumes have been declining for years. There are fewer letters and more emails. Now, the package volumes seem to be helping out some, but even they come with their own issues, the logistical issues and challenges. So the package volume has helped, but I don't know if it's actually gone over the top. And on top of all that, we're working under a unique set of constraints. Now, I say we, I'm retired, but EAS, we're working under some constraints. Let me give you an example. The 6-day delivery, for example. Now, it's part of what makes us essential to many communities across the country, but let's face it, it's costly. There's no way around that. It is a costly mandate. And then there's the operational side. We have aging infrastructure, LLVs. Let's just look at that. We have limited resources. We don't have all the resources that we need. And then we have to balance our roles as manager and also do clerk work or have to do carrier work. So we have to do our work, plus we have to do other work as well. So now that's the landscape that Louis Dejoy's Delivering for America plan came into play. And, for us that are in the field, it's a 10-year plan that's very, very ambitious. And I'm not so sure, I don't understand all about it. I've never read the whole thing. I've only read parts of it. So I'm not going to sit there and tell you that I know everything about the Delivery for America plan. But there's some things that, are ambitious about it. Now, it's all about cutting cost. It's about investing in modernization. It's about ensuring that the Postal Service stays relevant in the 21st century. Okay, so let's shift gears here just for a second. Let's get into this partnership with DOGE. Now, for those of you who haven't heard, the Department of Government Efficiency, yes, DOGE, is this new initiative, and it's led by none other than Elon Musk, the richest man in the world. And according to what I've read, it's about finding creative and sometimes even unconventional ways to improve efficiency across federal agencies. I read that. So Dejoy's decision to reach out to DOGE is, well, it's bold. It may be a little questionable, but he's basically saying that we need some fresh ideas to solve some old problems. And let's face it, while we know the ins and outs of all the operations of the post office better than anyone, having an outside perspective could also reveal some, opportunities that we might not see. And from what I've been reading so far, this partnership is going to be about streamlining some processes and reducing some things and finding some cost savings. For those that manage the day-to-day operations, this could be big changes for you and how you're going to allocate your resources and how you're going to prioritize tasks. How many Zoom meetings are you going to have to be on today because you have a limited staff? So it's an interesting time. It really is. Of course, this whole collaboration thing is sparking plenty of debate. You can start with the concerns, and I've read about them. Many of our colleagues, especially those that are in unions, thinks this is the way to privatization. They're asking the question, if DOGE focuses too much on cutting costs, what's going to happen to the Postal Service as a public service? And another concern is workforce changes. Dejoy has already announced that he's going to have a voluntary early retirement program that's aimed at cutting 10,000 jobs. Can you imagine that? 10,000 jobs could be eliminated? For those of us that are in EAS roles, that's a double-edged sword. Fewer staff might ease some budget concerns, but it's going to just stretch us thinner than we already are. I mean, we cannot continue to, operate with less and less and less. The streamlining process of bringing employees on is way too long. It's too complex. And yet we have to suffer through that as EAS employees. Now, after I've discussed the concerns, there is some optimism. The other side of that coin. Some see that DOGE has a chance to finally address some things that we've been dealing with in the Postal Service for years, whether it's outdated technology or processes that are just cumbersome, I guess is a better word. This partnership, it might bring some innovation to the Postal Service. So there is that side. So what does it mean for us as EAS? What does it mean for the EAS employee? Now, I have no inside knowledge on the Postal headquarters side. I'm just getting some of this information from what I read. And what it means for us is, first and foremost, it's a reminder for all of us how crucial our roles are. We're the bridge between national level decisions and on the ground operations. And whatever comes from this partnership, it's likely going to be the EAS employees that's going to be implementing it and making sure it works. It also means we've got to stay informed. We got to stay proactive. And no matter what this looks like, whether we're going to be, adopting new technologies or whatever it is, our ability to adapt is going to be the key. And let's not forget the importance of communication, both upward to our leaders and downward to our employees that we manage. It's going to be critical that transparency, which seems to be a buzzword that we hear a lot, it's going to be important that transparency is available for everyone. So, at the end of the day, the Postal Service is evolving. No question about it. We've been evolving ever since we've been in existence. And partnerships like this one with DOGE, it's uncharted territory because it's something that we've never had to go through before. But it also represents an opportunity to strengthen our organization for the future. Now, I have no way of knowing if that's going to happen. It's so much easier to look on the negative side, but who knows what's going to come out of this. But as EAS employees, especially those of us that are in NAPS, we're in a position to make a difference. And not just for the Postal Service, but for the millions of people who rely on us every day. We're the ones that are on the front lines. The postmasters, the supervisors, the plant managers, the MPOs, the MDOs, SDOs. We're the ones making it happen. So read as much information about DOGE as you can. Get all of it in. Read it from different sources because we know how the media is today. Just try to get as much information as you can. And anything that I read, again, I'll try to share that on this podcast. But it's important that we as EAS employees always stick together. And that's what NAPS is for. NAPS is going to tell us the truth. NAPS is always going to give us the information we need. So you can always count on that. All right. That concludes our first cup. Let's go ahead and let's pour that second cup. For 100 years, the Nashville Post Office Credit Union has been turning dreams into reality. Since opening our doors in 1925, we've been your trusted financial partner. Our success stories are countless, thanks to our core value, people helping people. Here's to another century of integrity, compassion, and commitment to your financial well-being. The Nashville Post Office Credit Union, a tradition of people helping people since 1925. And for our second cup today, I want to remind all Branch 32 members your next branch meeting will be March the 25th. On a Tuesday night beginning at 6 p.m., we'll be meeting at the Nashville Post Office Credit Union. We'll be having our meeting there. The meeting lasts about an hour, and then we're going to all go to Nectar Urban Cantina for eating after the meeting. So Branch 32, that message is for you, and I want to be sure that you try to come to the meeting if possible. And for everyone else that may be listening to my voice, we've got the Tennessee State Convention coming up. Now, time is running out on getting your room reservations. The last day that you can get your room reservation is March the 30th. That's right. March the 30th is the final day to make your room reservations to get the rate that we have. The convention takes place April 24th through the 26th, and it's going to be based on the theme of Every Piece Matters, like a jigsaw puzzle, and we're going to be exploring that. Ivan Butts, our national president, is going to be the NAPS officer that will be there, so you'll want to come and be a part of that. But it's going to be a great convention. I hope that you will sign up for that. You can get that information on our website, napsbranch32.org. Look under the important documents. That's where you'll find that information for the Tennessee State Convention. It's the 85th one, and that's pretty exciting. Branch 32 is the host, and we hope that you'll come and be with us. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode, the podcast known as the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast, presented by the Nashville Post Office Credit Union. Now, listen, I have asked you this, and many of you have done it. I really do appreciate that. Share this podcast with your fellow EAS employees. EAS employees, that's right. Especially those that are in your local branch. And speaking of local branches, I have not heard from a local branch in forever. So please, let me know which branch you're listening from. I'd love to get to know you. That's going to do it for today. Thanks so much for listening. And remember, every great weekend starts with a great cup of Joe. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast. Please note that the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of Robert Wakefield and do not necessarily reflect the views of the National Association of Postal Supervisors. We welcome your questions and comments, so send those to SaturdayCupofJoe@gmail.com.